Darren Till has previously talked about how when he was younger, he didn't exactly have a very morally sound lifestyle. The Liverpool local thanked his coach Colin Heron for helping him escape that life of street violence, and one life-changing incident 9 years ago where a bouncer fingered him to save his life. At the young age of 19, the fighting pride of Liverpool was stabbed in the back twice. His lungs had been punctured. He was a millimeter away from having one of his major arteries severed, which could have resulted in his death on the spot. During an interview with James English, the Liverpool lad said that he was able to fight because he didn't feel it. Imagine that. The guy got stabbed twice, and he never felt a thing. All this happened while Darren was at a club and a fight broke out. Some guy came up behind Till and stabbed him while he was hitting everyone and anyone in his way. Later, the same guy came back around, and when he saw Till was still standing, he stabbed him again. For 10 minutes after that, the Englishman was still fighting. People were smashing bottles on his head. The doormen were even cracking down on him, but he just wouldn't go down. The Liverpool local stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks after that. In the time he spent recovering, he did some introspection. The incident made Till rethink his whole life. According to him, the blade was almost centimeters away from a major artery. If it had hit that, he would have been bleeding out and dying. The UFC fighter said he remembers sitting outside the club and seeing a light. Apparently, he's not a big believer in God, but in that moment, Till says he remembers thinking it was his time to go. If it weren't for one quick-thinking security guard, it very well could have been the end for him. The guard did something unconventional and stuck his fingers in the wound to stop the bleeding. Not the best decision when it comes to first aid, but it brought Till back. It was a brutal moment, and it changed his life for the better in the long run. Till added that these types of moments make you sit back and think about how it was such a close call. In fact, the incident put him on a different path in life. The English fighter said that when he talked to his coach, he told Till he could either be a world champion or a waster in life.
Around us, his weight's coming down nice and slow and steady. Couldn't have been better, couldn't have scripted it better.
He added that there were plenty of the latter in the world, but not many champions. After Till's close call with death, his head coach and master, Colin Heron, urged him to go to Brazil to further hone his craft, and it was a decision Till promptly made. His initial plan was to spend 6 months in Brazil, but he ended up staying for nearly 4 years and having a daughter there. The experience of moving to a foreign country was difficult for the Liverpool local. He didn't know the language or anyone there, but he believes it shaped who he is today. Till said he didn't want to offend anyone, but he went out there for 4 years, whereas other fighters complain about a 6-week camp away from their families. Till survived in Brazil by eating chocolate spread on white bread, all while undergoing extensive martial arts training. The Scouser honed his Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu skills at the Astra fight team in Tijucas. He would hold pads for the legendary Nogueira brothers. Antonio Little Nog Nogueira would leave money for Till to collect at the end of the day. Till said that the entire time when he was alone, without money, or unable to talk to people because he couldn't speak the language, there was one thought that made it all bearable. He would think to himself that if he could just get through this, it would all pay off one day. And it did. After 4 impressive UFC wins, the Liverpudlian broke into the mainstream by knocking out Donald Cowboy Cerrone in under a round. Dana White's UFC thought so highly of him that they brought an entire UFC card to Liverpool in May 2018. With Wonder Boy having already faced welterweight champion Tyron Woodley twice, the Scouser took advantage of the opportunity in his hometown to challenge the champion. He got his wish in September in Dallas. Till was defeated for the first time as an amateur or a professional when the chosen one knocked him down. He was forced to tap via a Darce choke. Only 6 months later, Liverpool's fighting pride was back in familiar territory. he chose Jorge Masvidal for his comeback fight at UFC London in March. Despite being a top-ranked welterweight contender, Masvidal had been out of the octagon for a long time, and Till did not see him as an immediate threat. But then later, Till was forced to do some serious soul-searching as Masvidal's star began to shine brightly. This made him come to a decision. With the help of his Team Cabon coaches, he'd move up to middleweight and save his body from the extensive weight cutting. And it worked, because it led to his most memorable win. I'm talking about his showdown against the former world title contender Kelvin Gastelum at UFC 244. It was so much more than just a simple win. During an emotional interview with BT Sport, the Liverpudlian even admitted something.
And it's been a rough process to get to this point, but here we are.
He was considering faking an injury because of his nerves before the fight. Now, if he can defeat Robert Whittaker on Fight Island, a shot at the middleweight championship is almost certain. The Reaper is no joke. Prior to his loss to Israel Adesanya last October, the New Zealander reigned supreme in the middleweight division. He defeated the fearsome Yoel Romero twice. And while Till may be relaxing on his sun lounger before the fight, you can bet he'll be ready to fight again when the cage door slams shut. Throughout all of this, Till is making sure he doesn't lose sight of who he really is and what he believes in. On his journey to reach the top, he also wants to do something for the community he grew up in. Darren Till has taken a strong stance against the knife culture spreading in the UK right now. With the tragic death of Ava White recently shocking the city of Liverpool, there has never been a more critical time for role models to speak out against it. In light of a recent tragedy in Liverpool, UFC middleweight contender Darren Till sent a powerful message to troubled youth in his community. Professional athletes frequently use their platforms to help their communities, and Till is no exception. He took the time to encourage children to pursue outlets such as MMA rather than a life of crime. Darren posted an image of himself in a hospital bed paired with a message. He talked about how 9 years ago he had been stabbed twice in the back of his ribs. He urged the online audience to put down the knives and ask their parents or take themselves down to their local gyms. The Liverpool local said that the best thing they would ever do is go to a gym with a nice, healthy environment and a good mentor. He ended his post by saying they wouldn't regret taking his advice and used the hashtag #NoKnivesSavesLives. Who knows? If the kids reading his story really do take his advice, someday they might just make a career out of it. And that was all about the time Darren Till nearly died.